Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 191st episode in our Book of Hours run as the artist, our first run through YouTube. And I need to sneeze. Please give me a second. Okay. But yeah, I managed to record the series of videos well ahead of their release dates. I owe some of you a belated Happy Independence Day, incidentally. Now, one of the drawbacks will be that if I'm not able to record between now and what I normally would for the group, that probably means that there'd be about two weeks in between. But I need to stop recording at some point, so this will be the last in this little push that I have. And our main goal for today, again, is to read the Grand Passage of the Hours. So this isn't too difficult. This is in VAC, so we already have a 10 knock text, and VAC, I believe, gives us 2. Yeah, so we don't actually need to add anything else to it. So let's get that started. We'll use the Vagabond's desk this time. Before gods arose from blood, before ape stood upright, this was the language heard in the house of the sun. I am Vac, the peacock door boasted, both the tongue and the goddess. I am the only entrance into secret light. I was worshipped before you upright apes, and I still will be when all of you are ugly ash. Listen, and I will prove it. I am a match for this book. So this is going to take us a couple of minutes to read. We will eventually move on to figuring out what we need from door and wall. We know at the very least we'll need Forge and Knock to be able to bring these things up. There's nothing to stop me from bringing in Mrs. Kill to help out, so Mrs. Kill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. Now, we're going to put the investigation of the busts on hold, so we will eventually move on to Gideon and higher. But I want to make sure that I get the day's tasks handled first. In fact, I might have prepared a little bit better, although we got lucky with loopholes, so as long as I'm leveling up something that's got a knock element to it, we should be fine. Oop, did forget to make some money, so in this case I think we'll use the Faust to earn money. I carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. Mrs. Kill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. So nothing we really need from the pets right now. In this case, it's just a matter of getting the different books read. Okay, fine. There tisn't be no tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. So it does feel a little silly to just keep churning out money at the Sweet Bones with the element of the soul that I just happen to have available, but it's worked well for me, so... This is the problem, right? It might be silly, but it does have outcomes that I find useful. So it is summer. I am sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. Now, there is a reason for leveling up some of the skills that I'm going to here. So one question you may ask, I know every once in a while people say, well, why do you match lessons to the individual skill? It's really just because it's a simplification. My aim is to have all of these go up to a high level. If I don't have a specific if I don't have a specific goal that I'm going for, like say the Edicts Martial back when we were looking for a more reliable way to produce the Wormwood Dream, if I don't have any kind of direct path, it's just a little bit easier for me to not have to think about that one thing. But of course, then we get to level 9, and that option is closed. I do actually need to think about it. And so in this case here, the reason why I try to level up what I can is mostly, we've seen that you can break down a given element of the soul. And so being able to have a clear idea in terms of, okay, you know, this is the number of lessons learned that I'll get out of it. Here's how I can get the most out of that approach. Basically being able to have that option for my lower level, right? To say that, okay, I've got this nice floor of level 3 or level 4 skills. One, that gives me more options if I want to take that, if I want to go down that path during Numa. But of course, on top of that, when I'm experimenting and seeing what the various elements, well, all the various skills can do, again, I have the opportunity to just make it easier to get there. I don't have those situations where I'm looking at the potential outcomes and saying, oh, if only I had that 1 point of moth or whatever, or at least it minimizes those. In any case, we've finished our homework. The Grand Passage of the Hours, the Libyan Burggash Gazetteer of the patterns and rhythms of the hour's progress through the Mansis, from Concursum to Mallory, Mallory to Wood. Each century in the Mansis is a great feasting hall. In each 99th year, the hall falls silent. The elegist sits alone at the feast. There are paths in the Mansis that only the sun has walked. In the time of the sun's division, who will know them? When the second dawn comes, who will walk them? So we have a pattern to work with. That's kind of nice because we know Mrs. Kill won't take that away. And I do seem to have space for at least a little more in terms of patterns. I may need to sort of move things around again, but for now I'm happy. And actually, only 2 for door and wall is not a hardship. So again, if I take a look at Forge and Knock, we can level Meniscate Reflections up to 3 and Solutions and Separations up. And that kind of feels like a decent way to go about it. So with Meniscate Reflections, this one ideally would just focus on the Forge part. Well, it's got to be Forge or Edge, and I don't have an Edge to work with right now. Okay. Solutions and Separations, on the other hand, is Knock and Moth, so we could combine... Oh, here we go. So the Pattern and Regret, and then we take the Clouds and the... Clouds and what? I guess the Old Moment. I'm still gonna commit to this path. It's a little less certain than it was, but oh, right. Sorry, Knock and Moth. And I used up the... Okay, well that's fine, because we can put the Tristan here. All right, a little bit of an odd way of putting it together, but I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. All right, I could have used the Old Moment too, sorry. Better now. I could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There's no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. Yeah, I did actually bungle this a little bit. I'm sure we'll be fine, though. The surgeon plies the knife and the mason plies the chisel. There are subtler tools than either. All right, let's see. Yeah, so we're getting a lot of replacements for the satisfaction. I suppose in the worst case, we repurpose one of these. For instance, we're not really using the whist right now. The other thing I guess I should realize is that I'm not going to have an infinite amount of time to examine these, the items in the house. So I think at this point, let's just pick some priorities to work with. So we'll go on another... set of expeditions to try and earn some goodies. Guess I'm using the Fost, so there isn't as much available to me in the Gull colony. I'll make a choice about that later, but we can use the Tryst. And then we can use the Arab for... I think this is the... Yeah, this is the 4th, this is the 3rd. Or sorry, 4th, 5th. Investigate the object. An afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers through the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. So we will restore the Fost, but I'll probably use it for something else, assuming that I can balance the priorities. It is summer. I am sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. One of the reasons I'm looking forward to autumn here is not just the orchard keeper, but rather the possibility of getting a Hyxo speaker to visit. It is a little frustrating we haven't seen that yet, but not frustrating is too strong of a word, but it's definitely something that's held us back. Okay. A niche with a plaque who was mocked more than he merited. This bust is carved from wood. Cherry? Musgrave de Wolf, who was mocked as the Bleating Baron, even while Brankrug prospered quietly, was renowned for his piety, but who won praise from the mage... Sorry. Let's try that again. Musgrave de Wolf, who was mocked as the Bleating Baron, even while Brankrug prospered quietly, who was renowned for his piety, but who won praise from the magus Julian Cosley, a quiet contradiction of a man. We will not use the whist for anything. Well, let me just double check that, because we are trying to move things up. But yeah, the Menascate Reflections, we need Forge or Edge. So we can take a look at Gideon. And then what's nice about that is we know that we've sort of cleared out the floor, so if I don't find better uses for my... Or if I find better uses for my Elements of the Soul, I have a clear idea. Okay, we start on floor 2 when the next series starts. Recording series, I mean. I'm getting a bit unlucky in terms of the draws here. I think I'm probably going to have to give up... I think I'm probably just going to have to give up an Element of the Soul here. Okay. Anish with a plaque who was feared more than he merited. Gideon de Wolf, this bust is terracotta, brightly painted. Gideon the Physician, 5th of his line, nicknamed the Motley Baron by those who disliked him, and the Cutter by those who feared him. So I need to leave the metal aside to be able to level up the skill. This is the time where I should make a clear decision on what I want to do. Better now. Okay, I think what I'll do, I am going to go check out the gull colony. The sea rolls below. We'll see what Mrs. Kill gives me. If we don't get what we need, then we will use the whist to get the pattern back. That's kind of on me for not coming up with a better breakdown. I sort of got away from myself, but that's fine. We can get the pattern now. And let's read on the winding stair, seeing as we are investigating the busts. And then this is the point if I'm going to be doing any kind of gardening or anything like that. Now is really the time for me to commit. Although it looks like we're going to be finishing some tasks. So you know what? I'm not going to do the gardening. I'm going to get a second run, excuse me, at Crowcross Sands in the moor, I think. All right, more Ava's locks. Where do I even put these? Oops. I could renounce it, but... Okay, I've never... It feels like I should be making more of things like the quartz chunks, but again, they're... I haven't quite worked them into my overall plans. Starting to get a little bit of a collection here, I guess. Phosphorescent scrapings rendered inert but still luminous. Okay, we will put those in here. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like another trip to Crowcross Sands will get me something a little more interesting. Yes, I know I didn't use sea stories. And then health-wise, well, I guess we can take a peek. Really, at this point, we're just waiting, waiting to get the pattern. Doesn't quite work for me. I figure because we do have a little bit more downtime here, so I should mention there is a reason why I still kind of keep a few of these items around. One of the reasons why kind of the Wild Viper's just been sitting there is that renouncing something usually doesn't just remove it from your inventory. You usually get you know, some kind of memory. And those are ones that'll usually be associated with something sort of like winter. So what I've kind of been hoping for is when the, you know, when I need sort of a pocket winter memory or something like that, that's kind of when I've been hoping for it. So for instance, a good use of this would be in Numa. Let's say I can say, okay, I can pull this thing off, but I really need, you know, X memories, and it works out that, you know, I'm short one. Having a few items that I know I'm in a good place to throw away, it's not a guarantee. I think there's a set of things that you can get from renouncing, but it's just a chance for me to improve the chances to be able to do some of these more you know, precise actions that I want to do. Again, if you've got more elements of the soul than you know what to do with, you can sort of afford to be a little bit looser with how you do things, and you know, you just double them up. But even here, we're still a little more constrained than we normally would be. At the very least, I could have the same number of elements of the soul and have them at a higher level, which sometimes makes sense, other times doesn't. So for instance, if you want to try and level up all of your skills, it actually can make sense to have lots of spread out low level elements of the soul, because then that lets you just rebuild all your memories on your way back up to the, so you break down the highest level that you think you can manage, and then you sort of rebuild it and then use the lessons to level the remaining ones up. The catch there is that even then there is a limit, because it'll take you, a certain period of time to be able to level things up. It'll take you a minute to read a book and so on and so forth. So you are still constrained in the amount of time that you can use on that. But in general, it's not a bad idea to go wide in terms of your elements of the soul earlier on, if a goal for you is to level up your skills. On the Winding Stair, Gregory Wheelock, the master mason and architect employed by Walter de Wolf to construct the Winding Stair and the guest chambers in Hush House, describes a more ambitious and dangerous project. Gregory marks the bricks of his Roostouch family home Treowin with Ramson bricks, hoping to open forbidden doors. Gregory evidently succeeds in opening a way to something he calls the Moon Hall, but here his account becomes erratic. He insists that the Moon Hall, the Horned Axe, in the Moon Hall, the Horned Axe is still an edge power. He hopes for an eternal rival, but cannot find one he needs. The narrative is increasingly interspersed with chess notations and ends abruptly. So we should still have enough time to be able to level this up, although I'm cutting it close. Did solutions and separate. There's Metascape. There we go. I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. And a gossip. Again, it doesn't really matter because we're not going to keep any of the stuff that Mrs. Kill gives me. We've already committed the old moment to dreams, but not a terrible way to spend the day either. Okay, I think we did wind up using an awakened feather in a recipe. The skill is level 3, its power aspects have also increased. Without is purified, within is erased. U-Blank, I actually think that's helpful too. I know the edge one is a little nicer for us to have, but this drat. Is there a temporary place I can put this? Not nearby. Shucks. I knew this was going to bite me. I don't suppose I can put this on the table. Nope. Feels wrong to put flowers in storage. Well, okay, there is obviously a form of storage, but... Hey, you do fit. Oh dear, alright. Vase of rushes. This is a little more decorative. I feel that we can put that in a... well, actually, this will work. Actually, here's what we'll do. We'll put... this one over here. Still need to find something to stick in this spot. More Ava's locks. Okay. That one is less decorative. Right. If I try to put it there, it's going to try to throw it away, which might be the right call at this point, given the amount of playtime I am spending to trying to house all this stuff. All right, it'll do. Okay, so definitely a quiet suburb for us. The one other option that we have is to try and hire the barber, but I don't think there's too much for me to actually do with the barber here. So I'm going to try something a little different for today, because otherwise today is going to be just purely earning money. We don't really have any other tasks to perform right now. I will still get the memories, but what I'm going to try and do here is I'm going to see if I can maybe make a couple of okay, I don't think I want anything with the secret threshold. Already got an enduring reflection and a curious hunch. Okay, I'm curious here. So I can't see a direct use for either of these. This is more or less the same. These are all about inks or signs. Very curious. I'm not going to say no to making some more amethyst ampules if that's what it takes, but I definitely feel that there are more interesting things that I can do here. One of the things I'm kind of looking for right now, so there's a couple of books that I have that have somewhat rare memories. So I'm thinking here, if I wanted a Glimmerings, Glimmerings would be coming from basically the Black Book of Brittany, or sorry, Glimmerings or Black Book of Brittany for the Bittersweet Certainty. Now, if I wanted, the Bittersweet Certainty is also something that I can make from certain certain skills. And what I'm noticing here is that the most common one for me to get through this kind of construction, it's usually going to be a confounding parable or a secret threshold more than some of the others I'm thinking of. So I was particularly interested in the rose ones, which is why I went to the Shrine of St. Januarius. But looks like I'm actually running short on options here. So that's fine. I still have some ideas of things that I can do, but I think what I might do is when the next stream starts, I'm probably going to do something a little bit more something a little more aligned with Newman books. But yeah, so I think this is actually not a bad place to wrap it up, because we're well and truly into a new phase of the playthrough right now. We have and actually, so just to be clear, this is not necessarily inconsistent with what a player might find themselves in. The maddening part of this is I know exactly where I would like this to go. and I am actually held back by a very specific thing from moving forward. So I'm not delaying this just for the sake of sort of padding out the episodes. But one of the things that I think might be helpful to discuss here, the more likely scenario is not going to be, oh, I've got a really weird and specific set of circumstances that are keeping me from doing this one thing that I would want. And instead, I think it might be a little more helpful to say, well, what happens if you almost completely unlock Olive Brandkrug and you're still not sure how to finish the game? And so there's a few different paths that we can take. So one, we can say, well, what about any remaining treasures of the house? Can we unlock any more of those? Was there a book that we had seen that maybe indicated something that we'd missed? Had there been something discussed in a film? And was there something that suggested that maybe it's like the Rowanarium, something that we sit on for a long time and then just the right set of combinations come together and say, oh, hey, maybe there's something going on there. There are certain rooms where I've done, less, right? So we've got the Sacred Spring. Well, the Sacred Spring, it's not that we can't do anything in it, but it doesn't quite have the same punch as some of the other altars. And then, of course, there's there's checking out the different busts and sort of finding out a little bit more of what happened inside of the house, although that's a bit more sort of lore oriented. You're not necessarily advancing the gameplay here. So in terms of what we're going to do, some of it might be oriented around the Newman text. Some of it might be sort of working around these edges, waiting for the next opportunity that comes up. And then some of this might still be related to trying to find out the different skills. But what I'm specifically interested in right now are skills that have things that will advance my current interests. And so that would mean something that can give me a drink that has a very high nectar value. One way that we can actually get that's the Sacrament Malachite. And the Sacrament Malachite is something that we make through Pyrus or Calcinus, which is different from the Sea Blessed Pears. So that might be a case where I'm like, okay, well, now we go to the moor a little bit more because we need the wood to be able to turn that into Pyrus or Calcinus, and so on and so forth. But essentially what we would do here, this is kind of like if we were to be lost in a given playthrough. The one thing that we're not lost on is right now I'm just biding my time to be able to open this remaining room. And if I wanted, I could try my luck at the Sweet Bones to hire some of the specialists. I'll show you how that works at some point over the playthrough, but we've had such a good round of doing it here. I kind of want to see if I can do this. This is like a mini challenge that I'm setting up for myself. But basically, the real aim at this point is to find a productive way to spend the intervening time, because it's easy to hit the fast forward button. In fact, if you hit the fast forward button and just let it run over a couple of days, you wind up with a whole bunch of notes and spintria and you haven't lost anything. So in this case here, it's more, we've got a little bit of time left inside of the summer. What's a way that we can do this so that I don't find myself sitting around in the fall or winter, sort of doing the same thing? And this again could be practicing some skills. It could be searching for more texts. Or one thing we might do is sort of jot down what the game plan's going to be to see if we can get an orchard keeper to open up this room rather than wait for the winter. But all of that we will handle in the next episode. I actually don't think this is a bad place for us to break, especially because I am recording this well in advance. So I wanted to, I don't know, this seems like a good spot where I can afford to be ignorant on the following Monday. Thank you everybody for watching. Sorry for the rambly end. We will see you after the weekend. Take care.